This is Walt Disney World Today. Give us 5 minutes and we'll give you the world.
It's Monday, September 7th, 2009, and this is episode 614 of WDW Today. I'm Matt Hochberg of StudioCentral.com. Joining me on today's show is Len Testa, co-author of the Unofficial Guide to Walt Disney World. And Len, Labor Day weekend is past us, so please put away the white pants. You know what I'm talking about.
And okay, but as long as I can still wear my white belt and white shoes.
Sorry, it'd be a definite faux pas for us to wear anything white until Memorial Day.
Easter again?
That's right. Also joining us on today's show is Mike Scopa, a senior feature writer and blogger for allears.net. Welcome, Mike.
Matt, I see a big career for you in the movies. Selling popcorn.
Great movie, right?
No. I knew I'd get you.
The Magic
American Idol.
Animation?
Nope. I see a big career for you in the movies. Selling popcorn.
I have no idea.
Magic at Disney Animation?
No.
Backlot Tour.
No.
What is the Scopa?
Well, it's the scene at the Indiana Jones stunt show where the director talks to one of the guests who just acted out a death scene, and the guest is on the quote guest is on the ground, and the director looks over and says, "Yep, I see a big career for you in the movies, selling popcorn."
That's awesome.
Very nice. And on today's show, we're talking about gratuity at Walt Disney World, and tipping is something that we often get some questions about from some of our listeners, and we decided to do a show on tipping at Walt Disney World. And there's a lot of different places and opportunities for you to tip, and we thought we would kind of give our opinions and what our personal thoughts are on tipping as it relates to Walt Disney World. There's a lot of different places out there that you can tip. So let's start even before you get to Walt Disney World. Certainly at the airport, there's a number of different opportunities for you guys to tip. I mean, there's the SkyCap if you use that. The means of you getting from your house to the airport, be it if you're on if you park your car at a parking lot and you tip the parking shuttle guy. What do you guys generally tip? What's your general rule of thumb in terms of tipping at the airport?
Well, I want my bags to go from New Hampshire to Orlando. I don't want them ending up in Cleveland, so I make sure that I tip the bell cap. I mean, if it's one bag, he's getting $5.
This is when this is when you're checking in outside, right?
Yeah, I mean, I need him. I need him to save me time, and I need him to do good by me. So I make sure that he gets a good tip. And these guys are really good, and you treat them well. I mean, they work hard. So it's probably. And I think, Len, you said this one time on one show. You said it's the best $5 you ever spent.
Yeah, I mean, for when you're at Southwest, sometimes in the morning when Southwest is really crowded, that's it's like a 5-minute line versus a 30-minute line, and for $5, especially when you just want to get past security and be done with it, it's a great thing to tip. But let me ask you this question. I don't think they have it in Orlando because I haven't seen it yet. But I was flying through Charlotte last week, and I noticed that there are now bathroom attendants to keep the bathrooms clean, and you have to tip those guys too.
Really?
Is that not the weirdest thing? Wow. Because there's like a dude standing around with paper towels while you're doing your business and stuff. Like there's just so much pressure to perform. It's just like
I give him a tip. Don't eat any gum off the floor.
Yeah, really.
Well, aside from really people aside from luggage, I guess, is there any other place where you guys would
in the checking in at the airline SkyCaps, right? Where else would you tip?
The only other place I tip is I'll usually park the car at one of those airport parking areas, and then when the guy picks up my bags, and I throw him at about $1 a bag.
$1, so yeah.
To, for tailing. But really, other than that, I don't usually use the SkyCap. I mean, I'll deal with the line. I'm usually there with enough time, so that's not an issue for me.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's about it. I mean, in terms of rental cars and stuff like that, there's no one really to tip them.
Okay. Well, let's go right into Walt Disney World now, and you're at Walt Disney World. So what are the places, Len, typical places for you that you usually tip somebody?
Valet. So if they're showing some hustle in getting your car,
yep.
Then that's usually worth a couple bucks. It's usually about $2.
Yep.
So here's something though I think that I don't know what the tipping habits of most people are. Usually, I tip the person who's getting the car if they come right away over to me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when if they come right away, if they come over right away and they pick up the car, so I can just get on with my business. That's usually $1. But I've heard that the standard is not to tip the people who are picking up the car. It's only when they're delivering the car to you that you tip. Is that common?
That's what I do. I don't tip the guy who picks up my car. I tip whoever
because
brings
tips
my car to me.
So tips are pooled typically, right? So it's not like someone's getting shafted by picking up the cars because at the end of the day, it all goes in the same.
Let me ask you something, Glenn. If someone gets really good service, someone slips the guy the 20, you really think the guy's putting the 20 in the pool?
Yeah, well, that'd be the right thing to do. Why wouldn't you do that?
But I'm just with you, Lenny. If the guy, like Boardwalk is the classic. This is the litmus test, really, because it's such a long way away. And if I see the guy when I give him my ticket and he hustles, he's running down that road to get my car. Yeah, he's getting it too. If the other guy, meanwhile, is on the other hand, perhaps sitting there and cruising,
dawdling and walking,
lollygagging,
lollygagging. Exactly. What's the other term that they used for kids back in the 19th century?
I don't know, Scopa.
Scopa?
I don't know. I don't know. I was one of those kids, so I don't know.
You're just lollygagging around, prancing around.
Dying and laughing, laughing and laughing.
I mean, there are times where I've seen the guys taking their sweet time, and I've yelled out to them, "Can't you make that walker go any faster?" But
Here's something that I think we're going to disagree on here. Housekeeping at Walt Disney World. Do you guys
$5 a day?
You really do?
$5 a day. Yep. I put a little note on the floor with $5. I say gracias and thank you. And if I could say it in a few other languages, I would.
When do you tip? At the end of the stay?
No, every day.
Wow. Scopa, what about you?
I've heard different. I usually give like $2 a day, and I've heard people. Some people have said you don't tip till the end of the stay. At
the end of the stay, it doesn't actually do you any good.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
If you're staying every day, then I'm telling you guys, when one of us gets married again, someone is getting an entire set of sheets and towels from Caribbean Beach because I think I have enough spares now.
Well, here's the thing. I understand what you're saying. You're doing like preemptive, like if you tip, you will get.
Especially if I ask for somebody to like, hey, can I have another bottle of shampoo? And usually I'll get like 12 bottles of shampoo. Oh. $5 buys you a lot of other people's property. Let me just tell you that right now.
You see, now I don't tip housekeeping unless let me put the caveat, unless they do something special. That's something that deserves a tip. Otherwise,
let me just tell you something. They're doing something special for your room when you're not tipping. I guarantee it.
Well, I'm of the opinion that tipping is something that you earn, not something that you should. It's not mob money. When you pay the mob off so that they don't do anything to you. God forbid something bad should happen to you.
I'm just saying, God forbid anything bad should happen to your coffee maker.
So that's my opinion of it, and it's not to say what you're doing is wrong, but
no.
If they do something, if they do something nice, if they do something special, then they certainly absolutely do deserve a tip. But generally, the towel animals don't deserve it because everywhere it's so obligatory. It's
ubiquitous.
Exactly. That's the word with a vowel that I was looking for. Yeah. That it doesn't. It's not special anymore.
So the way I look at it, me personally, is $5 doesn't mean anything. That doesn't mean anything, but it means less to me than it does to the person receiving the $5. I'm sure they're working hard and not making much money. So the $5, whatever. It's just not in the overall scheme of things. It's inconsequential to me.
Let me ask you a question. Is the type of resort have a lot to do with the tipping? That is, would you tip differently at the Polynesian than you would? It doesn't matter?
$5 a day.
DVC and non-DVC, doesn't matter?
$5 a day.
Okay.
I see. I do it on merit. You got to earn your, if you do something well, and sometimes, I don't make a big mess.
I've never had bad housekeeping.
Neither have I don't.
But so it's not like I would say. It's not like I've ever asked anyone to. No, it's not true. Once I've asked someone to change a shower curtain, but they did it because the shower curtain was moldy. That was off property, but they did it, and so I don't see the need not to. I don't know. I know some people. I know a lot of people that don't, and I understand why you wouldn't. For me, it's not a have to or not have to. It's I have the $5. the $5 makes somebody happy, whatever.
Okay, so let me ask you this question, Len. This is more of a Zen question for you.
Yeah.
Are you tip? You seem to be tipping a lot more, certainly than I. Are you tipping? Do you feel obliged to tip, or are you doing it because you generally believe they deserve the tip?
I think it's a hard job for not a lot of money.
That's true. Very, very true.
So,
any other places at the resorts where you guys would tip? I'm trying to think.
what about maitre d's? Like when you're in fancy restaurants or like wait staff. I know we had a controversy a while ago on the show about buffet tipping.
Yes, let's get into that. All right.
Seinfeld too.
So, it's a buffet.
All right. So the debate is: do you tip more or less at a buffet versus a sit-down restaurant?
So let's talk. Let's talk about a sit-down restaurant. I think everyone agrees that the standard tip these days at a sit-down restaurant for good service is a good 5%, right?
5%. That's right. Well said.
You are a big spender.
somewhere between 15 and 20%. I think 18 is the new 15, right?
Yeah, I think 18.
Yeah,
Really
I think you're right.
So the easiest way for me to get, by the way, to 18%, just as a general rule, is take 10% of the bill, double that, and subtract $1, and that's close enough for me.
I don't find it
What?
that difficult to do.
What the heck was that? What'd you say?
18%. I'm not going to whip out a calculator and start calculating 18%.
What was that formula again?
1/5 of the bill and subtract $1 is about 18%.
1/5 of the bill and subtract $1.
1/5 of the bill is 20% minus $1.
At
Get
Walt
your
Disney
days.
World these days, most of the restaurants, when you get your bill, have the tips at the bottom.
Oh, who reads the bill? It's just bad news. Why would I want to read bad news?
But here's the real question. All right, so you're saying 15, really 18 to 20% is what you're looking at, Len. Do you
18
tip,
is sort of like the.
what about at a buffet?
In the unofficial guide to Las Vegas, which I was just reading today, it says that the standard tip for buffets is $2, regardless of the meal. But then there was a time. Remember when we were at the studios for Christmas, and it went from a party at 2 at 6 o'clock to a party of 10 or 12 at 7 o'clock.
Yes.
And those guys were hustling, and they made. We had a couple of special meal requests, and
right.
I can see 10% for that because they're even a little bit more actually. I think we ended up doing 15 for that one, but I think 10% is appropriate for buffets. I could be wrong.
See, what I do, this is based on merit.
You package up a bag of food for them to take home.
I think first of all, at a buffet, obviously
Here's some ice cream.
they're not serving you food; they're serving you drinks. But that's what I tip on here because I see it. My drinks and those of my party should never be empty. I should never have to ask them for refills. So if they're on top of their game for refills, that's 90% of the game right there. Because obviously I'm getting my own food and there's not much else to do.
Yeah.
But I mean the classic examples like at Trail's End and Scopa, you'll know what I'm talking about when you eat there. They have those little glass cups that are very small.
They're like jars, yeah.
Jars.
Yeah.
So someone who definitely deserves a tip is someone who brings me 2 at a time because they know that I'm not gonna, just sip like a little cat, like meow meow meow, let me have little flip my tongue at the drink. No, I'm sucking those things back, and I don't want to have to wait for refills. And
I hope none of our listeners just went visual when you said that because I'm pressing my palm against my head now, trying to get that out.
That's right, me lapping up.
But think about that. I mean, I'm the same way, Matt.
I spit on the keyboard too.
Every once in a while, I'll be at a buffet, and the server will be smart enough to realize that it would save her time or him time if he brings me 2 iced teas at a time, rather than just one. And if I have to ask, that's not good.
Something else that I thought about also is, and this I guess holds true for both buffets and full service, is the case of the disappearing waiter.
Oh, dude, I can't stand that.
Yeah, that definitely brings the tip down very quickly in my estimation. And that's, you're at the restaurant, and at some point in the restaurant, usually towards the end it happens, but it could happen anytime really, where your waiter just disappears. You're looking either for a refill, maybe the bill, and, you cannot find him or her. And that aggravates me to no end.
I could tell you a guaranteed 20% at Le Cellier when my drink is always replenished, and they come over and they say, "Would you like more bread?"
You're a handsome and powerful man.
Yes, if I get the bread and I get the water or the iced tea or the beer or whatever I've without asking, that's 20%.
So, Len, any possibility for you to tip the 18 to 20% at a buffet in your estimation, short of like them delivering, I don't know, some
stuff that isn't on the buffet? 20% on a buffet is a lot.
Okay.
because there's no order to take. I mean, unless there's like an entire room full of special orders, or we leave the restaurant just a complete disaster area because we've got kids or something.
Okay.
I'm not saying it's not possible, but
Right.
for a standard adult dinner, 20%, like the same as a regular restaurant, that's tough.
Not realistic. Okay. What about you?
Something would have to happen, like would have to point out that the food was cold or gone, and somebody would have to make more, and the waiter would have to do something special for that.
Yeah. Scopa, what do you think?
It's probably going to be 15, Matt, unless the drinks again are there
On a buffet?
all the time.
15% for a buffet.
I think I always tip. I would say 15 is the going rate for me at a buffet, I would say.
Yeah. They're clearing the table of the plates and they're bringing my drinks. I'm fine.
So so let's think about this. What's the difference between what a buffet, what somebody does at a buffet, and then somebody does at a regular restaurant? They're taking orders, they're bringing the food out.
And I'll say this, Lynn, I'll admit to this. When I'm saying 15%, I can freely admit that I'm tipping 15%. This is more, I feel more obliged. I would feel like if I tip the guy 10 to 12%, I would feel like, even though it's a buffet, I don't know, I would feel guilty doing it, to be honest with you.
The only difference is that instead of them bringing the food, we're bringing ourselves the food. That's the only difference.
You're getting so the difference is the couple of trips out.
So it's 5% difference probably. It could be as much as a 5% difference. So I think 15 is probably average. If I get
maybe 10% is low. Maybe it should be somewhere like 12.5%, 13%.
But Len, let's put it this way.
Because sit-down restaurants went from 15 to 18. I guess buffets shouldn't stay at 10, right?
Let's put it this way, Len. You know how you talked about how housekeeping is a lot of hard work for little money?
Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
So the same philosophy.
Let me ask you this, guys. Let's say you're at a restaurant, sit-down restaurant, regardless buffet or just table service. You're at the restaurant. It's a terrible experience. The waiter is just never there, doesn't refill your drinks. Those kinds of experiences. What would be your recourse? I mean, what kind of tip? Or would you ever just say no tip? Or do you feel that there's another? I mean, is sometimes like a little small tip is just as bad as? I mean, what do you do? Do you still feel obliged to throw them the 15%?
In Disney World?
In Disney World, yes.
I've only, in my entire adult life, I've only not left a tip once, and it was short of spitting on the food. It was just bad. I don't know, man. Disney World is usually so consistent. I'm usually willing to give people the benefit of the doubt that they're having an off day.
Okay.
So I've never not. I mean, I don't think I've ever left less than especially at a sit-down restaurant. I'm just chalking it up to somebody having a bad day.
Yeah. Okay. And of course, I know that there might be people who are wondering, but for counter service restaurants, none of us tip, right?
Right. I don't.
But
no, I wouldn't even know who to tip.
Yeah. I know that there are some of our listeners are from overseas, and they're unfamiliar with the means of tipping in America. So certainly want to cover that.
What about like the maitre d' at certain restaurants? Like at the high end, like at Narcoossee's or Citrico's or...
You're talking about like the wine steward kind of guy?
No, not the sommeliers. I mean, they usually get a couple bucks a bottle, right?
Yeah.
If they're making a recommendation, if they're just uncorking, I don't know what that's worth.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point. I agree
that's a good question. What do you tip a sommelier?
That's a good question.
I heard 15% is the going rate for that.
15% for sommelier too?
No, 15% of the wine, like
okay.
And of course, based on service. If the guy's just like.
If he's just unscrewing the cap.
Yeah. Like, thanks, buddy.
Yeah, thanks. Or opening the box that the wine came in. Yeah. That's awesome.
Putting the straw in. What about if you're at the Bellevue Lounge and you're getting a beer?
Absolutely.
Oh, bartenders?
Yeah, bartenders. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, usually it's a buck a drink or whatever the leftover changes or whatever.
Yeah, I think that's pretty standard.
Regardless of the price of the drink, it's a buck.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and if you're like Newell and the bartenders at some of the bars, then it definitely goes up from there. And we've talked about that story in previous shows. I don't remember which one.
Best if you don't know the bartenders.
Yes.
So bartender. Yeah, actually, the whole bar staff usually it's.
That's something to keep in mind. As people ask, we get this question from time to time about attractions. Tipping cast members in the parks.
I've never heard of that.
There be some, sometimes people do magical things and people want to tip for them. And the thing is cast members are not allowed to accept tips. In cases where there's sometimes guests where just like, listen, here's the money. The cast members are supposed to put the money, turn the money into their manager, and it goes towards a charity that Disney has. I'm not sure which one it is.
Well,
but
nice.
even though Disney, the cast member might do a wonderful job for you, you're not supposed to tip them. So just something to keep in mind. They're not supposed to even accept it. So
It just seems like that'd be awkward.
yeah.
I'd rather give a hug,
There you go.
because at least
Or
the
a
hug
book.
is worth the story. Yeah, no one wants the book. I'll just take the hug. My hugs are more valuable.
Okay, well, I think so we basically, what's interesting is that I disagree with both of you on tipping and housekeeping.
Oh, what
but
about Magical Express? Do you tip Magical Express, the bus driver, the guy that's handling the luggage?
I would do it on my way out. Again, if he did a good job.
Yeah, on the way out, yeah.
If he didn't take the scenic route to Walt Disney World, if, he handled my luggage quickly, things like that. I would
You
definitely
have really heavy bags.
Yeah, heavy, and that, of course, supersedes everything, I would think.
Yeah.
Here's something I did back in 2003. I went on an Illuminations cruise, and before the boat left, I tipped the driver $20, and we got a heck of a cruise that night. Took us around Stormalong Bay a couple of times. Took us down here, down there. Then we went to see Illuminations. Then we did a few other things. So that's another area that.
Doesn't that kind of bother you, Mike? Because think about it. What if you didn't tip the guy that? I mean, would you then not gotten as good of an experience? And if that's the case,
I don't know,
Matt.
Matt.
I think what Mike is saying is he paid a little more and got a little more.
that would be true. But I mean, you know what I'm saying?
Didn't want to leave it up to chance. I wanted my fellow people. I wanted my fellow riders.
My people go.
My fellow
My
people.
people, yes.
What
I wanted
about,
them
what
to
about-
enjoy it.
So what about private tour groups, like when you're doing like the Keys to the Kingdom tour or something like that?
I would go with no.
No. Oh, because they're cast members.
Cast members also, yeah. And I mean, you are paying a significant amount of money for these tours generally.
So when I did my Segway tour, which is fabulous by the way, and our listeners should all go on the Segway tour, I felt moderately guilty about not being able to tip the guy.
I think for cast members, the best something better than a tip, if you ask my opinion, is to go to guest relations in the park and leave a positive comment about the cast member, because that will go on their permanent record and they will get recognized for it. And for cast members, that is huge. I mean, it's honestly better than a couple bucks here and there. So if you want to really reward a good cast member, do that, because it will really go a long way in terms of making a cast member's day. And of course, if they have a career with Disney, it'll really go a long way in that regard.
Cool. Good to know.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think we got it. Everything there. Well, one last thing, Len. Concierge, since you stay there more than all of us at Concierge. Where if any would you tip a Concierge?
So I've only made a couple of special requests to Concierge over the years. Less than half a dozen. Two of them involved something for my daughter, where she either left something in the room or had a special request. Both of the times that they got satisfied, the concierge ended up with a tip, and it was kind of like it depended on the scenario. Once we were changing from hotel to a hotel every night, and somewhere along the way she lost her her entire Nintendo game pack, and so all I told the concierge was the color of it and in the 3 or 4 hotels we'd been at, and he found it. So that was like $20.
All right, let's go. I got one last question. This is the real ultimate question for you guys. You guys remember? I think it was last year. There was that family I think it was a couple actually, at Wilderness Lodge, and someone flushed one of their rings down the toilet or something like that, and they actually retrieved it. It was a big story. You can Google it. I'm sure you'll find the link somewhere. So someone went in the where and actually found it and brought it back to them. What kind of tip do you give for that?
Dude, I don't know. Just whatever you have in your wallet.
A new car.
What's your daily ATM limit that day? whatever that is, that's pretty much your oh god.
I can't even imagine what you kind of. Obviously it's a wonderful thing, and
yeah.
But wow.
I feel obligated to stay together.
We have to do it for the guy.
We have to do it for the dude.
Do it for the dude. That's
awesome.
Great. All right, well, that's it for us today. Don't forget to visit the WDW Today website at WDW Today for our show notes, everything, all that fun stuff. For Len Testa, Mike Scopa, and Mike Newell, I'm Matt Hochberg. We'll see you on the next show.
Stupid Judy, stupid energy.
This has been a production of Mouse World Radio.